Alright, so welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys for 50 subs on my last video. Thank you. It's very cool. So today we'll be playing as Novosibirsk. I will be continuing the Robles Let's Play, obviously, but yeah, I've never played as this Russian warlord, so I thought it might be cool to play it with you guys. Do give me some info in the comment section how to beat Kim Robo, because I know they're invincible. I played as Komi once. I think it was Serov, and it's pretty hard beating them. It's impossible, basically. Anyway, let's get into the lore. The Federation of Novosibirsk and Altai. In the ashes of the Central Siberian Republic and Bukharin's industrial brainchild within it, the industrial plan arises the Federation. When anarchists, socialists, and eventually insane medievalists shattered the Republic and the effete, I don't know what this word means, idealists in government proved unable to respond effectively, Fighter Ace and the Republic's former Marshal of Aviation, Alexander Pokrishkin, the Siberian Falcon, took matters into his own hand. Declaring independence from the central government, he proclaimed himself the president of the lands in and around Siberia's industrial capital of Novosibirsk with Altai, which had also declared independence, joining soon after. From that city, Pokrishkin has, in the years subsequent, established a strong foundation for his nation-state. Though his regime is fairly authoritarian and his administration is dominated by the Siloviki politicians originating from the military and security services, it has provided security from the many hostile forces within the volatile region for the enormous population it encompasses. This security has enabled rapid economic expansion, which has in turn led to the rise of the national conglomerates, enormous business firms that are increasingly demonstrating their influence over the young state. Many welcome this change, eager for the wealth promised, but others decry the increasingly authoritarian centralization promoted by the firm's Slovaki partisans. None decry it more so than Vasily Shushkin, the mayor of Barnaul and the second most important man in the Federation after only Pokrishkin himself. Extremely popular with the common people, he promises to be a thorn in the side of any attempt to further restrict freedoms in the pursuit of the industrialist or Slovaki agendas. And besides such internal challenges, many external ones exist as well. Novosibirsk is a prize that all within Siberia would and will kill to acquire. If the Federation is to survive the coming storm, its leadership must leverage the advantages of location, industry, and population with which it has been blessed, or risk becoming little more than a promise within a nation. Features: manage the Federation's industrial conglomerates and their influence within the nation, expand the economic and political base of the Federation, while managing tensions along various fronts, develop experimental yet powerful military machines through unique research and design mechanics. Some region info, I'm too lazy to read it. Let's just read the features. Unite the rich Central Siberian region and use it as a springboard to Russian reunification. Manage your share of the Central Siberian industries, expanding it and dealing with workers' rights issues as the region conflict heats up. Onwards, destiny lies ahead. And put on another one as well. So let's go with this and this. Land of Strong. The Federation of Novosibirsk and Altai is the largest splinter state that's separated from the Central Siberian Republic, even rivaling its remnant to the north in terms of power. and military might. Its president, the aviator Alexander Pokrishkin, who is commonly known as the Falcon, runs the state in an increasingly authoritarian manner. Novosibirsk has also been overwhelmed by the wave of refugees that came from the evacuation eastward, which has caused a multitude of issues. Falcon and his government will have to find solutions to the problems that have started to torment its people if he's to unite the region. Let's just put this in support. We got support on soldiers. 5 divisions. Okay. Mr. Kozin. Build some factories. Let's begin. The Narodnik investigation. Ah, communist terrorists, okay. Federation is no home to terrorist scum. Based. Legacy of the Siberian plan. Okay. Now what's this? Phoenix Corporation is one of the three main economic forces within the Federation and has long ties with Alexander Pokrishkin as the principal arms manufacturer and distributor within the Federation. Phoenix is both the driving force behind and the beating heart of the Federation's sizable army. The corporation was founded by prospector Siloviki soon after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The coastal whatever. Okay, this gives us some pretty good buffs, so good to keep them around. The Narodnik threat ended. Due to our efforts, the efforts of the SB, it seems we have successfully contained the Narodnik threat. The investigations by our agents and those undercover provided enough evidence for the arrests, and the raid could not have gone better despite a heavy firefight. Many of the Narodniks have been put behind bars, and it seems the rest have gone to hiding or fled Novosibirsk. We won't have to worry about any major damage in the future, and our government has begun to congratulate the efforts of those involved on the ground in bringing the terrorists down. The Narodnik threat gone, we will no longer have to worry about our factories being sabotaged or rail lines being destroyed. Our federation is stronger than any who may have wanted to topple it. Okay. They're still around though. The beginning, Alexander Mirokhkin shoved his hands into the pockets of his jacket as he walked down the streets of Novosibirsk. His hands shook as he approached the warehouse. He glanced back down the way he came, half expecting to see corporate goons following him. Up ahead he could see a red ribbon wrapped around the light pole. The agreed upon signal that the meeting was on. Alexander was taking the biggest risk of his life in going to this meeting, but he was desperate. The factory he worked at had been bought out by the Siberian corporation, and the new regulations they had imposed had left him practically penniless. He could only just afford his room at the flop house and went without food on most nights. Just put this on. 1 hour of Novosibirsk music. Okay. He knocked at the door in the appropriate pattern and waited. The door opened and he was dragged inside. In the dim light of a candle, he could see a group of 5 men and women gathered around what looked like the floor plan of a factory. The woman who dragged him through the door looked him up and down before gesturing him toward the table. "Welcome, comrade. Tell me why are you here?" he demanded. "To fight for the people of Novosibirsk and to end the tyranny of the Silovik regime," he responded. He had read the pamphlets and attended a couple of secret meetings before this, though none as important as this one. The woman looked satisfied by the response, if not particularly enthused. The woman looked back over the floor plan before she spoke again. "Welcome, Comrade Senior. We must prepare for your first assignment. The pigs at the Siberian Corporation have opened a new manufacturing plant for the production of top-of-the-line small arms. It will be our job to relieve the plant of its new manufacturing specs and to cause as much damage to the plant as we can." Alexander, or Comrade Senior, as he was now known, felt his throat tighten as a submachine gun was pressed into his hand. His second thoughts were quickly silenced by the fire he saw in the woman's eyes. This was for people. Yada yada yada. Cringe socialists. Land of the Strong. Scouts for loot. Let's do this. And let's do these two. Okay, up next. Let's go with Champions of Industry. One hallmark that distinguishes the Federation of Novosibirsk and Altai from the likes of the mystical kingdom Kemerovo and the Black Army in Kansk. Fuck off. Bruh. What do I hear crying? Whatever. And the Republican Tomsk is the presence of corporations that dominate the daily life of its citizens. Three of the most important are the Phoenix, Siberian, and Titan, each specializing in the different sectors of the economy. The Phoenix, the most aggressively pro-Silovik of them all. Yeah, this one. Manufacturers of military equipment. The Siberian, who are vaguely aligned with Major Shushkin of Barnaul, is the primary source of our agricultural tools as well as financial experts. Lastly, there are the Titans, the leading pioneers and technocrats within Novosibirsk society. When time comes, President Okrishkin will have to decide where his alliance lies. Allegiances lie perhaps down the road. He may even choose the people instead. All is possible in the city where the sun sets. Anyway, quiet flows the... Oh, this is a Shushkin event. I don't care what Shushkin. Gorman Kostin had heard first from Yegor the miner with the bright blue eyes, who had been a worker in the mine for over 10 years. Kostin had not wanted to believe it, but after the third retelling it had begun to sink in that the news was not mere rumor or Soviet propaganda. The Narodniks had been defeated, leaves had come down, or rounded up in a recent event, the coda of a long and brutal struggle between state and socialists. Kostin angrily hacked away at the stone with his pick, wishing desperately that the reverse had come true. Capitalist oppression continued, and the dawn seemed very far away indeed. As he used his soothed, blackened hands to load chunks of stone into the nearby cart, another thought occurred. Was the dawn so far away? Indeed, the Narodniks had failed in the mission, but so too had the state expended a great deal of time and resources putting them down. The Siloviks were raw, vulnerable. Suddenly, Kostin grinned, white teeth flashing brightly in the darkness. The iron was hot, the root was furious. Perhaps a second revolt would be what was needed to bring the whole structure crashing down. Evening tides. The evening passed Alexander Pokrishin like a warm sunset-tinged blur. The president of the Federation Novosibirsk and Altai, to use his long-form title, that even he found it cumbersome, was hosting a dinner to honor the veterans of the Great Patriotic War. A few of them were friends, but all were comrades. The neatly ceramic tiled dining chamber, bodily jokes of the aces echoed down the silent halls, booming through the rooms of the presidential palace. Some of them did not partake in the festival occasions, however, standing on the edges of the crowds, were silent onlookers whose faces were tinted with the colors pallor, a joy long lost. The war might have left Novosibirsk and Altai for now, for these it never left them. Call it battle fatigue, shell shock. Pokrishin sighed. There was no cure to the eternal affection of soldiers. A hand tapped at his soldiers. Mr. President. A powerful voice thundered behind him, catching Pokrishin off guard. Long time no see. The man looked askance at him as if expecting the trigger to click in his head. The man started his voice quieter than before. We were in the academy before, the flight school. Oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Apologies, it's been a bit. Surely you can understand the occasional forgetfulness on my part. No, that's not important. A wave hand his apology off. Still got your head in the clouds. Pokrishin arched a curious eyebrow. I don't seem to recall. Can I entreat you to enlighten me? No need. Pokrishin watched as he left past the crowd into the night. Curious fellow. Up in the sky, as his old plane, a gift from the free aviators, weaved through the skies, Alexander Pokrishin could not help but reminisce about the war. He remembered the sounds of explosions, the shrieking, rending metal, the screams of wounded men. He remembered the words of Horst Westerlied as the Germans blared at it from every radio tower in Moscow. And last of all, he remembered the flight east and the tens of thousands of good people who had perished to the jackboot's inexorable march. Not all was lost, he told himself as he watched the ground underfoot, the ant-sized soldiers that had trilled on top of it. He had this. Pokrishin didn't want to be a leader to a flight squadron, much less a state, and yet those under his care had not only survived, they had thrived. Things weren't perfect, of course. The terrorists plaguing his lands were proof of that, but nevertheless, life was tolerable. He pushed his stick down, forward, a smile filling his weathered face as he dived down. He never really had time to fly these days, nor the opportunity. Always an AA gun from Tomsk or Kinovo, always a Kazakh raiding party that had strayed too far, always a foe that needed combating, but today was not one of those days. Today he was free. As he wheeled around to face home, Pokrishin couldn't help but marvel at the city his forces controlled. The smoke of the factories of Novosibirsk was almost comforting, and the distant booming and lights of artillery that had once been terrifying felt in some strange way familiar. He hadn't wanted to be a leader, but he knew that if he did not fight for his people, then someone worse than he would. As long as he still drew breath, the Siberian Falcon would defend the people of Novosibirsk and perhaps one day all of Russia. Too many events. The Siberian state has a unique resource. Okay. Sorry about that. Business of state. National situation. The business of state. The Federation's cabinet room has hosted many important discussions of state, including military. That's a bit too loud, I think. That should be perfect. Including military, social, and otherwise. Today, however, the focus was economic instead of politicians. It was corporate executives who sat across the ornate conference table from President Pokrishkin. Representatives from all of the major firms operating within Novosibirsk, they had come, calling overtures from his government to discuss a series of potential deals that could be made. Deals that could, Pokrishkin knew, not only have a tremendous impact on the Federation's economic future, but also on the lives of hundreds of thousands of workers within it. He very much wanted to close these deals, but he also knew keenly that they would not come without cost. The men across him were, to a one, sharks beyond measure in their field, a field in which he had little experience. They would not agree to anything that would benefit him or the Federation without ensuring that it would, to a greater extent, benefit them. But Grishkin was prepared to accept that. I won't read this, I don't care. The Federation needed those men and the organizations that they represented. It needed their factories, it needed their capital, it needed their employment, and above all, it needed their support. They could cause no end of trouble for him and his government if they opposed it in any form. And so he flashed them a wild smile and began to speak. Mutually beneficial partnership. Let's train our troops. Wait. Okay. Let's build new schools. Let's raid Omsk as well. The general situation within the Federation has continued to deteriorate in recent months. Leftist revolutionaries have tried to undermine the stability of the state. Their methods of doing so have become incredibly heinous. I think. The government will have to make difficult decisions on the freedoms of the people in order to take a harsh stance on such dangerous dissent. Once the internal situation has been dealt with, we must hope that the regime will be strengthened enough to turn our attention on to our enemies that threaten the region. Let's raid them. Refuse tributes. Raid. Let's go with the veterans. The president had placed another sheet of paperwork aside before the ink from his signature had even dried, trying to work through a week of red tape in an hour before he was set to meet with Glinka. Now that hour was almost up on him, as his eyes flicked between the clock just above the door and the paper before him. Finally, breaking the tension, the rapping of Glinka's knuckles at the door could be heard. "Come on in, Dmitri." The door swung open and Dmitri shuffled in, holding a stack of papers, dropping it on Alexander's desk and adding onto the mound already collected there. What's all this?" asked Alexander, lifting up the first sheet of paper but glancing to his old friend first. "Police reports. Workers and socialists are getting much more agitated with the conditions. This is twice as many civil unrest related arrests as last month." Concerning, nodded Alexander, but predictable. I figured there'd be at least more of a catalyst foe. There is. The grain shortages are getting worse, which means less food for the workers, which means more are taking to streets and they can earn more money, so they can earn more money to feed themselves with grain that we simply do not have. Christ. I'll see what I can do and I'll keep looking through these. Dimitri nodded and headed back out the door, stopping just short of the threshold, and he turned to hear another word from his friend. Keep up the good work, Dimitri. Thank you, sir. I'm guessing this was, this is our security minister. It can also be our general accountant. We'll do business. Seva scanned the plaza. Dumb. Marketplace in a rural community not too far from Novosibirsk. Only a few peasants set up their stalls this early in the morning. Terrible security hazard for the president of the federation to be in public for something as mundane as a meeting. Yet Seva also knew that in Novosibirsk a little display of trust often went a long way. The soldier looked toward the reinforced limousine behind him. His boss was no doubt thinking about the meeting ahead, or thinking about the other meetings of the day, or not thinking at all, daydreaming about whatever it was that the Siberian Falcon occupied his mind with. Seva knew he couldn't keep up with his boss. That was why the boss was the boss. Another dark limousine. A lone man came out around the car, hands empty. Seva stepped forward, his hands away from his own gun. Mr. Novosibirsk? He asked. The man shook his head, opened the door to reveal his own boss, a short, stocky type. Seva recognized the man, a former military intelligence analyst. Behind Seva, the door opened. President Pokrishkin emerged from his recall. Any tension from the meeting evaporated as the bodyguard stepped aside and the two powerful men shook hands and exchanged formalities. Seva soon found himself holding a crate of documents. Chernyshevsky's bodyguard held a manila folder. What was in it? Pokrishkin often gave money or financial insider news in such courtesy calls. Chernyshevsky was an up-and-coming Silovik, a man with a growing network of his own. It was good business to pay respected men of his caliber. The conversation was over. Chernyshevsky disappeared in his car and drove it away at a high speed. Seva took note of the riflemen on the roof, relaxing their stance. He paid to be prepared for anything when one worked in the business of presidential security. The bodyguard sat in the back of Pokrishkin's car, finally allowing himself a moment of rest. His boss looked in a particularly jovial mood. Leafing through the intelligence report, the president smiled contentedly. It seemed that old man Pasternak was on the move again. War, boss? Seva asked. Pokrishkin shook his head, smiled. No, not war, but perhaps the end of peace. Russia's waking up. Keeping an ear to the ground. One of the greatest advantages Novosibirsk has over its regional opponents is our comparatively large and experienced army, an army whose soldiers cut their teeth on the front lines of the Siberian War before our eventual secession from the Republic that has been since shrunk back into Tomsk. By studying our past battles and examining our successes and failures, we can improve the effectiveness of our forces. The experience of our troops will likely give us la 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 la. Yeah. Right, so I'll read one more focus and then we'll end the episode here because it's already 30 minutes and goddamn, this is gonna have a lot of reading, I can already tell. Let me look through this first though. think I'll go with the Rising Phoenix. There's a long history between President Pokrishkin and the Phoenix Corporation. The state relies on the latter to provide military equipment for defense against its neighbors, and the former provides them with political clout to protect their labor practices or lack thereof. Founded by prospective Shiloviks after the fall of the Central Siberian Republic, it has enjoyed close relations with the Federation in general and the Office of Presidency in particular. They are certainly a reliable partner, steadfast in their dedication towards defending the Federation from external material threats. Who are we to say no? The Siberian may offer increased agricultural production and economic growth, but these factors will not defend. Oh yeah, we have a shortage of fucking wheat as well, so I don't know if this is actually a good idea. Yeah. But we need the buffs to fucking fight against Robo. I don't know what to go with, honestly. Let's just go with this. What we just say no. I think I read this already. I'll continue. The Siberian may offer increased agricultural production and economic growth, but these factors will not defend Novosibirsk from all who choose to plunder its wealth. No, it matches defense in the political realm against extremism. The state needs armaments to fight it in the day-to-day life as well. The Republic calls the Phoenix shall answer. I hope I'm doing the right choice. If I'm fucking up already, then that's a bit sad. Alright. Anyway, that's all for this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one, which will probably be the Gobos one, or the political simulator one, the collapse one, that I left off. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.